Hi, everybody, and welcome to the fourth webinar on checklists. This is a webinar all about checklist automation. And automation is something that you've probably encountered as you've been doing other parts of the checklist, but we're going to talk really in depth about the opportunities to automate your tasks within the checklist today, as well as how to clarify communication between families and your team when it comes to checklist activity. So today we're going to talk about, once again, understanding your process, because it's not very, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to automate if you're not sure what you should be automating. And then we're going to talk about the ways you can automate within SAM. So how to automate those checklist sections to appear, how to automate assignments and response time. And then we're going to cover communications, because a lot of times we're waiting to complete checklist items because someone else hasn't given us what we need, whether that's because the teammate hasn't done a task or the family hasn't done what they're responsible for. So to start with this image that I show every time, we really encourage that people fully understand their process, or at least have a really solid understanding of the process before they dive too deep into SAM. Sometimes this just means spending a morning with coffee and your team and talking about, hey, what are the big blocks in our process? Who is responsible for which part of the process. And what we have here is a swim lane diagram where we've done individual tasks that are written on sticky notes, and then you put those sticky notes in the lane of the responsible person or team, and from there you can kind of look and see dependencies. So a lot of times, as in this example, which is the home study, you're waiting for another person to finish their role. So a lot of times with home studies, you're waiting for the family to provide you with documents, because you can't do the background check or schedule home visits until you have all the necessary documents. So our example today for communication is going to center around home study documents. But just as a final note, really take time to understand your process. And when you do that, you'll see lots of opportunities to simplify and automate. So let's go over to my SAM site here. Here I am in SAM, and we're going to go ahead and go to the checklist configuration screen under the family. So I don't know about you guys, but when I first started with SAM, I was a little bit confused, because I would create checklist items or checklist sections, then I would go back to my family and click on their checklist link, and the items wouldn't be there. That's because SAM does not just put every single item on a family. It waits until the family meets the criteria for that checklist section and that checklist item. So it was sort of confusing at first, but now I realize that it makes a lot of sense. We don't want every single checklist item here to appear on every family, especially for things like a dossier, which would likely only apply to an international adoptive family. If you're doing foster care, then different licensing might result in different sections. So that's why we're going to talk about the very first option to automate, which is putting in sections automatically. So clicking on the gear icon next to a section name, you'll see the automatically entered section criteria. So what this is you're telling SAM, hey, when the family's SAM record meets this criteria, put this section in. So for the inquiry section, as soon as the inquiry received date is filled in, SAM's going to add this entire section. You also have the option to add criteria. So it might be, hey, only add the inquiry section for particular families. Maybe it's after a particular date. You can really get nitty-gritty and make a bunch of different inquiry sections that are shown for different families depending on their program. It's really up to you how far down you want to go. And just as a reminder for people who came to our public checklist webinar, this is also the area where you'll see that client checklist setting. So you can give a different name for your clients, provide a little bit more information, and attach a template to the very top of this section. So we'll go ahead and hit save. I'll also note that if you can automatically add checklist sections from an auto action. So if you're doing auto actions and you're comfortable with them, you can certainly add checklist sections through an auto action. But for me, I think it makes sense just to do it all from the checklist configuration page. So you can also specify, or I should say, you have a lot of opportunities to automate within individual checklist items as well. So let's click on the gear setting for one of them. So the first thing you've probably noticed when doing checklists is that you can automate the response time for different tasks. So you can give a certain number of days, decide whether or not you're going to count weekends, and then give Sam information to say, start counting these days when something else happens. So once we send this inquiry info packet, we're going to give the person 5 days until they follow up via email or via phone. You can also automatically set who's responsible for the task. So you can leave it blank. You can choose a specific person, which is helpful if one person always does one task. Or you can set it by the role. So Sam will automatically look at the family's case and find that social worker and assign them that task. And then right down here, you'll see the option to show this on the My Tasks section on the home page. So I don't actually have any tasks assigned to me right now, I don't think. But this is the area on the homepage where everything would appear that's assigned to me. So going back here, I guess let me unclick this. So sometimes people ask me, how do I set the family as being responsible? You won't set them exactly because we assume that even if the family is uploading a document, an employee is going to be responsible on your end for checking that document, maybe making sure that it's correct, but you can certainly make it available for your clients by clicking the Shown for Client option. I won't go too much into the public checklist options because we covered that earlier, but this is where you would do those options here. And then just like the checklist section, you can add criteria for individual checklist items. So if you're getting really specific, or if a task only applies to a certain type of family, this is where you would limit the checklist item by more criteria. Then we'll go ahead and hit save here. So those are two big areas to look for automation for your checklists. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about communication, because when you're doing, when we build checklists in SAM, we're usually building them for a team of people who are all working together towards the goal of permanency or whatever it is your program is. So in the example of the home study, we're often waiting around for the family to provide their documents before we can move on. So I've created two sections for the home study on my SAM site. One is internal tasks for the home study, and then I went and created a new section just called Home Study Documents. Obviously you would have more than 3 in an actual home study, but for my example I created these 3. They're all shown for clients, and in my imaginary workflow I'm going to say that we can't really do anything else until the family provides us with these documents. So what we'll want to do is to create some automated communication to let the family know that they need to provide these documents, and to let the home study worker know when these documents have been provided so that they could go on and do their work. So to do that, you would create a template. Templates are always what you use when you're going to do automated emails. So I've created a template here already called Home Study Start. And this is a really simple template, just fills in their name, lets them know they're moving on with the home study process. I added a little paragraph talking about the online checklist and how they can access it. And then I provided a link to the family case checklist here. So what we want to do is send this email to families automatically when that home study documents section is added to their case checklist. So an easy way to sort of cheat on this is to go back to your checklist configuration page, go to the section you're working with, click on that gear icon, and look at the automatically entered section criteria, and you can use the same exact criteria for your auto action. So if we go back to our auto action section, we can create a new auto action here. Send family home study document email. There we go. We'll go ahead and click save. We'll use the update field, and we're going to go ahead and look for that same field, which is under the case in the home study table. And I'm going to use Control F and search packet. There it is. So there's the same field that's used to enter that home study section is going to be used to send this email. So go ahead and hit save. I'm going to send an email to the family. I'll select my template. We'll send the home study start email to the family's home email address here. Hit save. And we'll go ahead and confirm so that way we can see it later when we're testing. So awesome, I have a home study email being sent to the family that'll give them a link right to the public checklist. But I'm not done yet because I want to go ahead and create another auto action to notify the home study worker once the family has provided all of those necessary documents. So let's see if I have it up here. No. I went ahead and created another template. So I'm going to go back to my templates. I think I called it there. I created this template earlier that just will notify the case manager or the social worker or home study provider, whoever you want. Anyway, it will let them know that the family has uploaded their documents. It has a report that I've based off the checklist home study documents. And then it has a link to the family's cover page. And in case you don't know, you can add links to forms under Advanced Options, Insert Form Links. So that's really helpful, whether it's internal or external communications, that you can provide a link right back into their SAM record. So what I need to do now is create an auto action in SAM that will send this email to the home study provider once all those documents have been provided. So let's go back to the auto action section and create a new auto action. Send home study provider email once all family documents are uploaded. It's not really the best title. Actually, let's go ahead and call it, yeah. So you can tell I was testing in here earlier because look, I've got this new title format that I've been playing around with where I start the auto action with the process and then I tell it what it's doing. That way, if you're looking for all of your home study auto actions, you'll see them all listed there. And we'll go ahead and hit save. Oop. Okay, so this is going to be a scheduled auto action. There's a little bit of confusion around scheduled auto actions sometimes, but scheduled auto actions are great for when you want SAM to look at something every day or every month or every week and then do something. So here we want SAM to look every day for families that have uploaded all of those necessary documents, and only after they've uploaded all of them, then send an email. So I'll go ahead and hit schedule. Let's go ahead and do this every day. 3 o'clock is great. You might want to do it earlier, but if families are kind of taking their time, they might not get it done until later on in the day. We'll hit save. And then once again, we can go back and cheat by looking at the case checklist configuration. So this is the home study document section that I'm looking for. And actually what we're looking for here are these fields. So these are the fields that we want to be completed before the auto action happens. We want all of these documents to have been provided by the family. Oop, go back. Where did I put my new auto action? There. Okay, so we'll go to the family. We're going to go to the case. We're going to go to that home study table again. But this time I'm going to add those fields that I was looking at over here. So release of information, financial form, and confidentiality statement. So these are all under the home study. So we're going to do the confidentiality statement document upload field. That way we know there's actually something in that field is not empty. We're going to add the release of information document upload field is not empty. And the, what was the last one? Financial statement. Financial form document upload is not empty. So once all of these documents have been provided, it's going to trigger the auto action. And the auto action is that we're going to send an email. We're going to use that template I created, notify home study worker. And we're going to send it to the home study worker's email, which is all the way down here, home study worker's home or work email. Hit save. We won't confirm because it's scheduled, so having that confirmed, it might pop up with like 500 emails at 3 o'clock if you have a bunch of families. So we'll just hit it like that. And now it's ready. So you can see there's a couple that match the criteria, but let's see this all in action now that we have that family side and the caseworker side. So let's go to an example family. I have here the Beers family. They are international. They don't have a whole lot on their case checklist right now. What I want to do is trigger the criteria for that checklist section to be added, which is also the same criteria that will send the email, and that was if the home study packet date has been filled in. So that is under the home study section here. Okay, so it's popped up that first auto action, which is sending an email to my family, letting them know that I need those documents because we're going to start the home study process, as that link right to the family case checklist. But let's go ahead and pretend that we are the family. That way we can see the other auto action that we set up in action. So we're going to go ahead and provide home study documents, those ones that our other auto action is linked to. So I will upload some documents. We'll just go ahead and use a picture and fill in all three. And a third one. All right, so I've provided all the documents here. So now if we go back to that auto action, that will notify the home study workers, and we refresh the window, we can see that the Beers family now matches the criteria for this auto action, and at 3 o'clock, Sam's going to email the home study provider for their case to let them know. But if you get impatient with your scheduled auto actions, or you're just wanting to test them, you can always click advanced options here and run that auto action now, which would send an email to all those home study workers letting them know. But yeah, so that is 2 ways to automate communication on the family side and on the home study side, or the home study worker side. So now what you might actually want to do is create another auto action based off this one that would email the family to thank them. Hey, thanks for providing all of your documents. We're going to go ahead and take a look at them. The next steps are X, Y, and Z. So there's lots of opportunities to automate communications between multiple teams that are working on one process. And we find that letting people know what the next steps are really just is an opportunity for you to connect with the families and kind of let them know what to expect, and so they're not just waiting around wondering if you got the documents or not. But yeah, that's all I had for today. So let's go back to my slides. I'm wondering what you all would be interested in talking about for our webinars next quarter, because Stephanie and I were sort of talking about maybe doing auto actions, or we could dive really deep into templates. But after this webinar, I'm going to email out a link to a Google form just to collect some feedback from you guys, see what you want to do. And also next month in early April, we will be at the Nonprofit Technology Convention down in New Orleans. So if any of you are planning to attend, please let us know, because we'd love to catch up with you, maybe go out for dinner, or just hear what you're working on. But certainly let us know your feedback as far as how we can make these webinars more helpful for you. And thank you. So I will be in touch soon, and I look forward to talking to you next month. All right, bye.